UFC fight night time. The UFC's headed to Louisville, Kentucky, headlined by Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. He's taking on Nasruddin Imavov, and it's a solid fight night card. The matchmakers did a really good job. A lot of tough matchups to call, and we have 14 fights in only 10 minutes to break down this video. So I'm not going to go into every single detail on each matchup. Just going to give you guys my quick picks, quickly break down each matchup on this card. Let's do this. Before we get into the breakdowns, I want to talk about last week's event, UFC 302 in Newark. I was actually there live. I had a good night. I went up 4.8 units. If you saw my last prediction video, I actually went 11 of 12 on my picks, but of course, the one that I picked wrong was Cesar Almeida, and I bet him. Happens sometimes. Still had a good night, still having a really good 2024 year, and I have a bunch of bets lined up for tonight for UFC Louisville, and looking to make some more money tonight. All right, breakdown time. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. First matchup, Rain Dos Santos taking on Puja Tomar. Basically a grappler versus striker matchup. Tomar is the first WMMA fighter from India to fight in the UFC. She's a bit undersized. Both these women are a bit undersized for the division, but I think she's going to be a little smaller. She actually has decent striking. She's pretty tenacious, but she is a fish in the mat. If the fight gets down to the mat, she's going to be a fish out of water. And Dos Santos is a black belt. My issue is she doesn't go to the wrestling enough. She doesn't go to the ground enough. So yes, the money line's probably a little wide, but I do anticipate that she gets this fight down to the mat eventually, and I think she finishes Tomar at some point. So the pick is Dos Santos. Next matchup, we have Cody Stamann taking on Taylor Lapilus. Another, I guess you could say, is another striker versus grappler matchup, with the striker being Lapilus. I think stylistically it's a good matchup for Lapilus. He has really, really good takedown defense, and if you are able to get him down to the mat, then he has a really good get-up game. So I think Stamann's going to struggle there if he decides to wrestle. He hasn't been wrestling as much as he did early on in his UFC career. And the other thing is, too, if Stamann gets it down to the mat, it's not like he's some ace on the mat with his jiu-jitsu. Doesn't really do much with it. I think that if he does get the fight down, Lapilus is going to be able to pop back up, and it's his world on the feet. Lapilus has a substantial reach advantage. And I think he's just going to either pick apart Stamann to a decision, or he might snatch up a sneaky submission. But the pick's going to be Lapilus. Next fight, solid women's fight here. Eduarda Mora taking on Denise Gomes. I didn't like how Mora missed weight. She's a bit of a weight bully. I think that after this fight, win or lose, the UFC is going to force her to go up in a weight class. She missed weight by a ½ pound, which I don't think is good for her. That means she probably pushed herself to make the 116 limit here. You know, it's not like she missed by 3 or 4 pounds. Denise Gomes is definitely going to be the smaller fighter here, but she is a dog. She's going to fight for your money if you have a bet on her. She's well-rounded. She has more power here. She's the better striker here, but she has terrible takedown defense. But she does have a good get-up game. Get-up game. She does threaten with submissions to get back to her feet. And I just have a feeling that Mora is going to win round 1 and then start to slow down. I think Gomes, not sure how you say it, is going to provide enough resistance to fatigue Mora, and I think Gomes is going to finish her in round 2 or round 3, picking the underdog here in Gomes. Another good fight next, John Castaneda taking on Daniel Marcos. Castaneda is the more well-rounded fighter. He's more likely to grapple. Marcos doesn't really go to the grappling really ever. He's more of a boxer out of Peru. One thing I like about Marcos is that he doesn't really wear damage, and if he takes a big shot, it doesn't really affect him, which optics-wise looks really good with the judges. And this fight is favored to go to a decision. I'm gonna pick Marcos. I think that he has the finishing upside. I like his boxing, really good jab. I don't think Castaneda is gonna have too much success with the wrestling, so I just think that Marcos is the crisper striker. I'm picking him to win. Andrea Lee taking on Montana De La Rosa. Not too much to say about this matchup. This is a rematch. Both these girls have been underperforming of late. They're both on losing streaks. Not too much to say here. I'm going to pick Lee. I don't think that De La Rosa has improved that much, and I don't think that Lee has regressed that much. So the pick's going to be Lee. Next fight, Brad Katona taking on Jesse Butler. This line is wild. Brad Katona is a -700 favorite. I mean, number one, the dude has pillow fists. I mean, he always fights to a decision. He doesn't have any finishes in the UFC so far. And we've seen how the judges have been scoring these fights that make it to a decision. Do you really want to lay -700 on a guy like Brad Katona? This guy, Jesse Butler, I mean, it's almost recency bias. Came into the UFC, He got knocked out immediately by Jim Miller. That was at 155. Jim Miller can crack a lot harder than Brad Katona. And now he's dropping down to 135. By the looks of it on the socials, he has been training hard. He made the weight to at 135. This guy has fought at 170 before, so he's gonna be a lot bigger here. And I just think this line is crazy. I think that Katona is the rightful favorite, but minus 700 is crazy. I'm gonna pick Katona to win, but I definitely wouldn't parlay him. Next, Charlie Radke taking on Carlos Prates. Definitely the best face-off when these two fighters size each other up. These guys got in each other's faces, forehead to forehead. These guys are gonna go at it. Prates is a lot bigger. I think he's more dangerous. Radke does have power in his own right. Prates has been finished in a lot of his losses, but if you look at it, that was a lot earlier on in his career. I think he looks a lot better now. I think he has a lot more desire to win. And I like his long-range strikes. I like how he throws a teep kick up the middle a lot, knees up the middle. I think he's gonna hurt Radke to the body eventually and finish him rounds 2 or round 3. Next fight, another good fight for this fight night card. Thiago Moises taking on Ludovic Klein. I guess you could classify this as a striker versus grappler matchup, with Klein being the striker. And I'm gonna pick Klein to win. I think he has really good takedown defense. You know, if Moises is able to consistently get this fight down to the mat, it's gonna be an issue for Klein. But he's athletic. He's not like a zero on the mat. He's not a fish on the mat. He has his own ground game. But I do think that's a path to victory for Moises. If he gets it on the ground, it's kind of his world. But Klein is just a better striker. He's more explosive, lands more volume. And I actually think he wins the decision here. Another good matchup. Next up, we have Miguel Baeza taking on Punahele Soriano. A couple of question marks, a couple of red flags surrounding this matchup. Baeza hasn't fought in like 2 years. And also, Soriano's dropping down from 185 to 170. He made weight. He looked pretty good, I thought, doing it. And I looked at his Instagram. Obviously, he's been training with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture. He's been working hard. And I'm going to pick Soriano here. I don't trust the chin of Baeza. He hasn't fought in 2 years, like I said. Last time out, he got knocked out in the first round by Andre Fialho. Not a good look. I just think that Soriano is live for the knockout throughout the fight. I think he's a more durable fighter. But with that being said, Baeza is pretty slick with it. Really good striking, really good jiu-jitsu. It's just that chin. I think that he could be winning the entire fight and just get caught. So I'm going to pick Soriano to knock him out. Next, we have Bruno Ferreira taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm going to pick Ferreira here. He's a pretty big favorite, but he's just the way better athlete. I think he's a good prospect. He's well-rounded, has fought the better level of competition so far in the UFC, has the better wins in the UFC. I think he has multiple paths to victory here. He's going to be too fast for Stoltzfus. I actually think Stoltzfus is a really durable fighter, but he's slow, man. He gets hit on the chin a lot. He gets stunned. He has good recoverability, and he's only been knocked out, I think, 1 time, but he's also susceptible to submission. He's been submitted twice, and I just think that Ferreira is going to have his way with him. Probably an early finish here. Pick is Ferreira. Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Ricky Turcios is next. Another good fight, bantamweight division. I think the UFC wants Rosas to win. I think it's a good matchup for him. He's going to be able to take Turcios down. The question is, can he hold him down? Turcios does not have good initial takedown defense, but what he does well is he scrambles, he lands a lot of ground strikes, and he does a good job getting back to his feet. But I also think the cardio issues of Rosas Jr. are overstated. He went way too hard in his fight a couple fights ago against Christian Rodriguez, and he gassed out. Rodriguez is a much better fighter than Turcios. Pick is Rosas Jr. here. Next fight, Dominic Reyes taking on Dustin Jacoby. This is the co-main event. A lot of red flags in this matchup. Reyes, probably the more skilled fighter, but who knows? Is his chin completely shot? Maybe. But who knows? I also didn't like, he hasn't fought in like 2 years. And also Reyes is, he had some weird issue going on. He had DVTs, which is a blood clot in his leg. He was on heavy duty medication. He was on blood thinners. And I think just Dustin Jacoby's on his way out too. I mean, he's a durable fighter historically, but he's been cracked a couple times. And I don't like the way he's looked. But this is a pass fight, probably a dog or pass. So I'm going to take Reyes to win. All right, I have no time left. Quick breakdown here. Imavov taking on Cannonier. I think it's Imavov early or Cannonier late. I'm going to pick Imavov because he's a more durable fighter. He's younger and he has a grappling upside. I think he takes out Cannonier early. Thank you for watching. If you want my bets, shoot me a DM or click the link in the bio. Got plenty of action for tonight.